thoughts in my mind, a world full of wrongs, it feels so right. Fight for tomorrow, the past is behind. Take what you want and make off in the night. Young and we're reckless, you reap what you sow. Burned out both ends like the time that we sow. Faster than lightning, we're on a roll. Take me on a journey, get out of control. Ooh, jumping on the midnight train, going somewhere I can't explain. Ooh, jumping on the midnight train, jumping on the midnight train. Feels so right, oh, oh, feels so There's no escape, these thoughts in my mind, a world full of wrongs, it feels so right. Out of the darkness and into the light, move with momentum, I know what you like. Freedom we're chasing and climbing new heights, taking a risk, yeah, we're rolling the dice. Faster than lightning, we're on a roll. Take me on a journey, get out of control. Ooh, jumping on the midnight train, going somewhere I can't explain. Ooh, jumping on the midnight train, jumping on the midnight train. Feels so right, feels so right, feels so right, oh, oh, feels so right, feels so right, feels so right, oh, feels so right. Feels so right, oh, oh, feels so
Help if I unmute the mic, wouldn't it? Hey there, travelers. My name's Kai. Welcome to Proudly Radical. Well, I mean, few stories, I got a few stories to come out of the weekend as well. Yeah. Get my mug of turmeric tea here a little closer to me. Yeah, unmuting the mic sounds like nonsense to me. Exactly. I mean, why do you need to do that? I don't. Hey, Pestique. Yes, exactly. Sips tea radically. Radical. So, yeah. Turmeric tea sounds pretty radical. You know, it's soothing. Would you like put it in the pirate radio section of the Discord server, Pestique? Not at the moment, but if we can build a giant library of good, great, stupid, amusing, hilarious, you know, I'm for the entirety of the spectrum. So drop it into the pirate radio section on the Discord server. So, hey, Ace. So I have a couple stories to come out of my weekend. We have a couple of stories that, you know, are the news of the day. and we'll go from there. I think I'll probably just quickly breeze by the news of the day sort of thing. Michigan has certified. That means, hang on, I have the actual, it's Michigan has been, okay, hey Taco, okay. Michigan's been won twice, Georgia's been won 3 times, Arizona's been won twice, and Pennsylvania's been won twice now. But Michigan has certified. So basically, there's no path forward at this point for the Trump campaign. There really isn't. And I watched a legal brief by an attorney, and there's no legal path forward really either. So now we're just listening to Trump heads scream conspiracy theories into the void at this point. That's all we have to put up with. The GSA has announced that they're officially going to begin the formal transition process. Sorry to hear that, premarital. Especially given the prices and the market of GPUs right now. It's fucking ridiculous out there. I was pricing out a rig for Cat over the weekend and looking at some of the GPU prices. Like a last gen 2080 Super was still going for $1,000 plus. Like it's absolutely absurd, some of the price points right now. But that's a bitch. Sorry to hear that, my man. So the GSA has you said fuck it and decided to go with the 3070 in the end. Okay. You basically doubled the price of that rig. Hey, Brooke. So you more than doubled the price of that rig. Holy shit, actually. Hello. So the GSA has begun the formal transition process as well. In combination with the certification in Michigan, it's just over. And now we're starting to see some of the neoliberal cabinet appointees. There's a couple of appointees in there. Deb Haaland, I'm not 100% on how to pronounce her last name, but the Native American who may actually become the Secretary of the Interior. It's a good fucking pick, actually. But, you know, I have my doubts for John Kerry as for the appointee for the official government representative of Climate Change Committee, whatever the fuck they're going with. You went for a B550. Fair enough. I would have reversed that. I would have gone for the 570. And then held back on the graphics card. That way, it doesn't matter. You do you, my man. My budget for the upgrade of my whole rig is about $1K, so I can run newer games on low settings. I'm happy. Yeah. I mean, you could. I mean, God. Yeah, I priced out a bunch of stuff with Cat over the weekend. So. Exactly. I'm with Taco. Hey, Atomization. What's up? Just getting started. I don't smoke weed. Occasionally I do, but generally these days I actually don't partake. So, and I'd like to say welcome back, but no. So anyway, yep. So certification, the GSA announcement, it's, you know, it's a thing. It's happening. Whether the Trump heads want it or not, it will be happening. I know, right, premarital? Based on that that infamous appearance. Did I see you? Not around here, we don't. But hey, you're welcome to have an actual discussion. You know, based on actual like ideology or philosophy or political opinion. But hey. Hey, Lucy. That's okay. That's fair, Cat. You can also spend big on a case, so you never have to replace the case. You do realize that, I mean, conservatism itself would be far more narcissistically focused than most of the leftist philosophies. Austrian, we've already done that. I'm not rehashing what you and I have done in the past. Hey, Curio. What's up, my man? Based off the statements that you were making. So like 2 minutes of whatever is the last video Sue has recommended you. That should scare the... Oh, a big fan of the Statue of Liberty, MAGA Princess 45. You big fan of the poem? Let's see. Let's get the new Colossus up because I can't do it by rote recitation. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall we stand, a mighty woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning and her name. Mother of exiles, from her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she, with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. This administration has been, this last 40 years, 60 years, let's go back to Nixon, has been nothing but a slap in the face to the new Colossus and everything that this country was supposed to have stood for, though we all know that that was a bit of a con job to start with, don't we? Oh, Kat, Austrians already, we did this like a month ago. I'm not doing it with Austrian again. We did this already, and the fact that Austrian doesn't even remember it is kind of terrifying. Or maybe they do, and they're just wanting round two, but I'm not doing round two. It's not how it works. Thank you, Pestique. 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Maybe 3 weeks. Something like that. Hey, Solaris. A priori reasoning goes brr. Pestique, and it was boring. Elon, you're so boring. Except it's been tried and true. It's been mathematically proven, too. Symbolic logic, mathematics, calculus, political history, to the point where it threatened the papal states, even. The Russians saw it as a threat. The U.S. saw it as a threat. Britain has seen it as a threat. Weakness, it's weakness by definition. No, no. I know you like to believe you can do that with words, but you can't. No, it's turmeric tea. Well, intellectually lazy for sure, Curio. You have a good one. Catch you later, Atomization. Hey, Jaru. So does democracy, Elon. So does constitutional republics. Okay, so wait, hang on, let me scroll back. Somebody asked something. All right, it was Pestique, I think. So let me, symbolic violence. Symbolic violence is easy. Wasn't that Bourdieu? Basically, symbolic violence is the unconscious violence inflicted upon a secondary group by an oppressor or dominant party within society. Whether you're aware of it or not, such as, I don't know, your buying habits, exploiting Latin American labor and contributing to the furtherance of their capitalistic exploitation. This is symbolic violence. No, Ghost. That's literally, I mean, it's just, that's who that person is. Nothing. Pompidou. Nothing. Biden probably won't do a whole lot to help blue-collar manufacturing. That's the fact of the matter. Neoliberal hyper-capitalism, the virulent predatory form of capitalism that we engage in this country, will not really turn around on a dime. So I wouldn't look for a whole lot to change under a Biden administration. Yes, fuck Nestle. I see that at the bottom, Catboy. Let's see. What do we got? Lucy, you know what? I think it's time. Let's see. Give me a 10-second mode. Premarital. Fun fact, Argentina farms soy and sells it to China so they can airdrop soy milk into coastal U.S. cities to turn people into liberals. Trust me, I have my sources. You should have used the RULS on that premarital, but beautiful otherwise. Nestle is a fuck. How can America be most free when we have the most prisoners per capita? We have the most prisoners outright, Ghost. We have the most prisoners per capita and outright. So nominal or per capita, we have the most prisoners. Yeah, and just backing up furthering your argument for you. Hey, Professor Neurobot. People have been telling me that I've been coming up on their recommendations for the past 2 weeks, something like that. And so thank you. I'm glad that you find me to be worthwhile recommendation. Hey, BB. No worries. I totally understand. Yep. And so as I understand it, things will fundamentally be the same. Oh yeah, that's how it's going to be. All right, I'm caught up. I'll turn it down to 5. You could use me as ASMR. As my voice gets a little rougher and rougher, it seems to be part of the neuropathic cycle. My throat's being attacked right now rather than my hands or my feet. It's my throat this cycle. You need to eat less burgers. Beef contributes the most. Go for chicken or turkey or something like that. I'm not telling you to be a vegan, but once a week. Sorry, Solaris, I can't help you with that. If I could magic that shit for you, I would. No, do you want some of mine? No, I'm good. I'm good. I have an entire drawer full of goodies, shall we say. No, I'm good. Thank you, though. Have you figured out a technology that allows us to puff pass through the internet? Because if so, before you IPO, let me know. I want to invest in that. You're going to be a fucking trillionaire. Other anarchists think some injustice is okay if it's a just hierarchy. How do you think the same way? You're going to have to give me examples. And I am a pragmatic or a realistic anarchist. There's no way to... I'm good, thanks. There's no way to get to an end state without a form of incrementalism. And so ultimately you have to start with that. You have to move through the welfare state, and you have to bolster it. At the same time, you have to hijack, you have to take over, you have to co-op the system of governance that exists in order to dismantle the capitalist corporatocracy that is a problem for basically everyone. And then you can start addressing the issue of governance and the state. But in the interim, if you were to just dismantle the entirety of it, what would happen is essentially genocide. And so you have to come to terms with forms of incrementalism. As a leftist, as an anarchist, as anybody who wants a level of progressive change in society. If you shoot for that end goal, then what happens is lots of harm gets done. Lots of harm gets done. Hey, Dalek. Example was gun control. I was thinking everyone should live under the same laws, but they think it's okay to turn their backs on some people if it makes others safer. Well, I mean, I think you know my opinion on gun control. Most leftists of a proper bent generally are very anti-gun control. I mean, even Marx himself is anti-gun control. So... Yes, exactly, sourcing. We didn't get these issues overnight, and they won't be solved overnight. I'm a big fan of telling people that you can't get there from here, that you're going to have to change trains at multiple train stations. And that's just sort of how you... that's how you have to look at it. Because I advocate for a thing I call the Thucydian methodology. And it is a thing I named and sort of crafted myself. It's still a form of incrementalism. It's not a bespoke thing, but it's based on the story or the thought experiment, The Ship of Theseus. And so I'm a big fan of sort of coming from a technology background, hot swappable technologies. And I look at ideologies and philosophies and political systems as being hot swappable to a huge degree. And so you don't have to have an insurrectionary revolution tomorrow. You don't have to burn the system to the ground to replace the system. There is a way to change out pieces of the system while it's still underway. All right. Red Pill, hello, my friend. What are your thoughts on anarchist debates on democracy? It seems like all are against democracy as a system of government, but not as decision-making, though some are against majoritism as well. I advocate for consensus decision-making, though most aren't familiar with it, Red Pill. But that's an idealized situation, to be perfectly honest. There'd have to be a certain level of education that goes on prior to that. But then, beyond that, I would advocate for something along the lines of a direct democracy at an individual sovereign level, at a localized level. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Because, I mean, the fact of the matter is that the scope and scale, if you type !ANSYN, ANSYN, you can see one of my essays on anarcho-syndicalism, and I talk about scope and scale and federation a little bit in that, and how I don't use consensus decision-making in that example. I use direct democracy in that example. And so, yeah, I think that covers what you wanted me to answer. If it doesn't, feel free to circle back around. We also need to get rid of our gun fetishization culture as it's part of the problem, but guns shouldn't stay and people should be trained with them. Yeah, 100% Solaris. Cat, if we have gun control, I want government subsidized guns. Wait, hang on. There's a sub-argument I want to follow. Jesus. Occasionally the shit just hits, right? Like having as many weird ass fucking neurological things. Occasionally I get lightheaded and it just sort of hit, right? Just a wave of it just sort of washed across me. Oof. Bear with me. That's all I have to say. Holding it sideways is the real gun control. I've actually witnessed a wrist injury as a result of that sort of bullshit. Jesus Christ. Confusios is confused, it seems like. You can't have a consensus with stubborn people who don't believe, who just don't believe in counting. Consensus decision-making is an interesting process to be educated in. I think everybody, consensusdecisionmaking.org, if you want to download like 38 page sort of pamphlet handbook, that's a primer on how to engage in consensus decision-making if you've never experienced it before. Yeah, that's not true, and you know it. Tanya, I don't think I can comprehend the scale of the military economy and what people are up against. I don't think it's a winnable situation. I think it's a valid point, Tanya. I think and I don't think people understand the hundreds of billions of dollars we spend every year in the form of essentially a jobs program. Within the military-industrial complex, and that the large-scale social impact that has, and how we would have to sort of go back to, turning your swords into plowshares situation. We would have to have a huge economic program in order to supplant that, or else it would leave a gaping hole in many people's pockets. Don't get me wrong, some of those we'd be better off without. The Raytheons and Lockheed Martins could use a bit of a downgrade, shall we say. Oh, you're arguing in bad faith, Confucius. I never said Newton said that. No, you did. You did. I watched it go by. Yeah, bread pill. I think that would address the scope and scale issue much better. I think, I think you would, yeah, based on what you've written just in those two paragraphs or two sentences, I think you get it. Premarital. Love it. There we go. Oh, I know. Right, Kat? Such not a thing. Radical per Oxford English Dictionary, fundamental or systemic change, especially that within a political system. Now, I don't care what your standings are. Look around. Do you think it's working as intended? Do you think it's, well, not as intended, but do you think it's working for the people? Be they blue collar, working class, manufacturing jobs shipped off. Do you think that this shit is working well? Do you think it, or do you think it needs some level of overhaul? Now, left, right, centrist, it doesn't matter. Leave that out of it for a second. If you think that it needs an overhaul, then congratulations. You're already thinking like a radical. Arizona Wanderer. Do you think a good alternative to farm subsidies would be that the government just flat out buy the crops and distribute it? I mean, Jesus Christ. The farm subsidies could theoretically work still if you means tested them. The problem is that the vast majority, the aggregate of the farm subsidies actually go to mega corporations rather than small independent farmers, right? So you could theoretically make it work, but there you go. You could go your direction as well. Oh, I know, Uzi. I know. Yes, premarital. Do these. I didn't actually say that. Smooth brains forget that VOD is a thing. I've long given up. I've long given up trying to understand it. There's a chat record on the screen. There's a chat log that can be downloaded, and there's multiple people who have seen it along the way. I don't get it. I don't get it. But it's a phenomenon that happens probably, I'd say, once per show for sure. It's the weirdest thing to watch in action. Well, I mean, okay, so yeah, I mean, Ghost, you're advocating for not a nationalization of the production, but a nationalization of the supply and distribution, which is, I mean, 2/3 of the way there, right? It means there's going to be price controls put into place. That means there's going to be market regulations put into place. Just pointing this out, whether, I'm just pointing this out. That's all. Yeah, Solaris, exactly. Oh, I know, right? Bread pill. There's plenty of people, though. I encounter them on a regular basis. People are like, no, this is working great. This is the best. I mean, if you want to expand the welfare state, Ghost, by all means. And that's what you're advocating for, ultimately. And I'm okay with that. As a stopgap methodology between the abolishment of the state, you have to shore up the welfare state. You have to shore up social transition programs because to not do that would be an injustice and a crime against humanity, and would be a nullification of the victories of so many people that fought hard to bring a modicum of egalitarianism into this corrupt, broken system that we all suffer under. Thoughts on... thought that was directed to me, Kat. I'm like, thoughts on solipsism. Jesus Christ. Oh, you'd have all sorts of production issues that you'd have to hammer out, Plastique. You'd have supply and demand issues across the board. That comes with any sort of nationalization of a program. You just have to work on that. I mean, that's literally their logistics experts who would have to hammer that out on a regular basis because the system would have to be dynamic. Did not work well in Maoist China. I mean, I'm just going to point something out. A lot of stuff didn't work out well in Maoist China. Just saying. I would much prefer that Bread Pill. Bread Pill saying, I don't support nationalization. I think in a market system we should have worker cooperatives competing. I would much prefer to see, anarchistic co-ops and worker co-ops of all shapes and sizes, seeing as they already make up 30% of the global economy anyway. I'd like to see an expansion of that, especially within our own system. But the fact of the matter is with regulatory capture from the larger corporations taken into account, you have to hedge somewhere. You have to tip that scale a little bit somehow. Yeah, we get it. Nothing. We get it. Nobody's... So we're saying one doesn't give a lot of consideration to their comments. It may follow that they're unable to recall those comments even 2 minutes later. Fair enough. That is actually probably a valid point, sourcing. Cool. Welfare is a bad word. Yeah. Bread Pill, just based off your name, I think you and I are going to agree on basically everything you say. Just so far, I've yet to see a comment by you that I'm like, no, you are wrong. No, yeah. Exactly. Except you don't know, Confucius, you don't know the fundamental nature of reality. No one does. You're making assertions of philosophical claims that cannot be resolved because we don't know the nature of reality. We really don't. To this very day, there's still valid philosophical argument. All right, Kat, you do you. You know what to do. Yeah, a lot of us aren't proud of this country, MAGA Princess 45. A lot of us have a lot of doubts and gripes and concerns and complaints with our nation. It's part of being an adult. Looking at something without childlike eyes, saying, oh, gee, mister, it's the best ever. It's not. It's not. America is not the best by a long shot. We have so many flaws and so many failings. And pointing them out doesn't make you a traitor. And saying people should leave because they want to improve something is kind of pathetic. Oh, I get it. Oh, I see it now. Oh shit. Okay, I just got to that statement from Confucius. That's what I'm going to be calling you from now on. About how you could live how you were designed and get hooked up with sacred knowledge, talents, and skills. Now I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see it. All right. Cool. Cool. All right. We've got some serious like ancient mystery religion, sacred geometry territory going on here, right? Okay, I'm starting to see it. Son of Saturn, sort of territory. Yeah. Oh no, you're the science denier. Like that's MAGA. If you MAGA Princess, if you don't like it in here with all of these whiny losers, feel free to get the fuck out. Just like the US. Only it's a lot easier to leave this channel than it is the US. See, the US claims worldwide jurisdiction on your earnings and income. See, the US makes you pay a tax to leave this country. See, but you're here willingly. And you could leave at any time. Now I get it. I totally understand who this person is finally. I'm looking at the comments about the fucking, they tell you that no one can know anything. This streamer is a gatekeeper. They try and prevent people from living in an attempt to make them die with them. These people are literally mass murderers. You're in too deep, my friend. You're in too deep. You need to get your head above the water and take a breath. It's probably, let me guess, don't have as many friends and family as you used to because you've driven them away. It's okay. You don't have to lie because I know you're going to lie in response. I've known people like you. I've known plenty of people like you. Yes, exactly, sourcing. Ignoring the flaws of your country is one of the least patriotic things you can do. Trump is plenty fond of North Korea. Hey, Ursa. Yeah, definitely spirit science, Solaris. 100% spirit science. This is definitely where this is headed. Or where I'm finding an origin point of. It costs you money to give up your citizenship, though, Ghost. Like, if you're broke as fuck, moving abroad, and finding a new country to reside in and giving up that citizenship is something that's impossible. It's very difficult to do, shall we say. I agree with that. Nothing. The U.S. is a very whiny nation. Yep, and there's nothing saying, yep, relinquishing citizenship costs $2,400. Plus, if you do have money, then it costs a portion of that as well. Bread pill sounds like a bad mushroom trip I had once. I've played around with all these ideas that confused is espousing, shall we say. Back when I did way too many psychedelics. Like, way too many. Eventually, you have to come back down. Yeah, Ghost, I agree. It's not financially reasonable. Exactly. Ace, oof, spirit science. Let me grab some more popcorn. Dude, I'm telling you, like, as soon as, yeah, like, this is the territory we have entered. Oh. Single male Australian will trade marriage and green card for negotiated price out. How about, what is my companionship and my rhetoric worth to you, Zealot? Just saying. I'm putting it out there. Exactly, Solaris. Humans can't have direct knowledge, only belief. Oh, cat, that's not happening. I know you're still chasing, still trying to chase that cat up that tree, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, and then they use our taxes on shitty things like the U.S. Army. I still am confused. That's what you don't understand. I'm aware of everything you're espousing, but I also give doubt because human beings can't know anything. We can't know the nature of existence. We just can't. And so I have some ideas, but you didn't ask me about them. At no point did you say, hey, do you have any spiritual beliefs of your own? Would you like to engage in a conversation about some non-standard beliefs? Or did you come in with an accusatory, aggressive tone right out of the gate? Did you come in with your mind made up? I mean, it's a channel of leftists, for fuck's sake. Of course, we've all done tons of psychedelics. The amount of drugs and entheogens that this channel has done collectively probably weighs more than 10 of you. All right? Hey, boss. We have some weird ideas as to the nature of existence as well. But you didn't ask. You just yelled. You just pointed fingers and came in accusatorily. That's the problem. Is you came in with your mind made up. And for somebody who has such an open mind, you've yet to hear what anybody's telling you. That no one in here believes we know anything. That the fundamental nature of the universe is so vast and so complex that it's beyond our mere understanding. Burn the holy oregano, close your eyes and count to 3. Visualize Mother Earth and align your chakras north, northeast, 22 degrees towards Ursa Major. Proceed to spasm uncontrollably until you feel the infinite knowledge of the cosmos slide into your synapses. Wait, that was a stroke. Fuck, pull out, pull out, pull out. Love it, premarital. Love it. Bread pill. I dream of a world without borders, united as one humankind. Fuck me. So many times. So many times, red pill. You're just a contrarian by nature, it seems like, confused. You just want to argue with us. Even if we give you an olive branch, you just want to keep arguing. See? There you go. Yeah, I am, but I don't care. I'm caught up to boss now. Light didn't conquer darkness. They're the same thing. Didn't the Taoists teach you anything, confused? They're but one and the same. Two sides of the same coin. Without the light, there is no darkness, and without the darkness, there is no light. Hey, easy. Ghost, I'm a globalist too. As am I. As am I. You have to be. Once you start talking about the dissolution of borders in the nation state, you have to be a globalist. You have to recognize that it's but one biological spaceship that we're floating around the cosmos, zipping around the cosmos in. This thing's moving pretty fast. Memphis. What's my opinion about free speech? Infringe as little as possible. I do not believe speech is equal to physical action. So there you go, Memphis. Premarital. You're getting boring. Either come on air confused or be less boring. I do Bread Pill, but I just use it as an archive. I don't use it for anything else. Oh shit, everyone. Confused has mastery over gravity. It's not based on authority. It's based on a philosophical challenge, Memphis. So basically, you have to justify the hierarchy. You have to justify the authority. It's not based on the authority itself, because the claim to authority can't be anything other than a claim to authority. What you have to use is a justification. So the justification traditionally is something along the lines of, someone who's been a blacksmith for 35 years teaching someone who is newly a smith. That's a justification of authority, right? That's a justification of a hierarchy. Did he get banned? I just looked over. I have not read that particular one, but I'd love to. I'll add it to the list. There's a long list, but I'll add it to the list. Thank you, Bread Pill. What got him banned finally? As I see it was you, Kat. What finally happened? Of course he did. Oh, can we rephrase that to say knowledge justifies authority? No, that's not right either. It's a case-by-case basis, Memphis. There is no universal set of rules. There's going to be, oh, Lord, we just traded one for another. There's going to be instances that are inappropriate based on previous exemplars, and there's going to be appropriate ones based on non-existing exemplars. So you literally have to allow for a level of dynamism. And everybody who might be new in chat, Sam is going to disagree with literally everything most of us have to say, with basically everything I have to say. And we're just going to go from there. Just understand this. This is the tone that it will be. Just a heads up. I'm still recovering from. Hello, Thoughtful. Oh, Sam, you know it is true. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I didn't say it's. There was no characterization. All I'm saying is that that's what's going to happen. And you know it to be true. I've had enough interactions at this point, Sam, to know. Yeah. Disagreeing with me, saying they'll disagree with everything, right? Dalek, Sam, come on. What authors influenced me the most? I mean, I could give the classics, right? I mean, Goldman, Bakunin, Kropotkin, Chomsky. But, I mean, I like newer, Peter Marshall, a little bit of Stirner in there. But I like, Michel-Luc Bellemare. There's some names. Have you read The Art of the Deal by do you Zizek? I do not Zizek. I do not Zizek. Yeah, Art of the Deal by some ghostwriter. I forget the guy's name. Do I like Zizek? No. There. I think I finally said it. No. Not a fan. No. I'm sure Trump skimmed over the book before it got published. Not many pictures in there, Ghost. I don't think he did. Like, a philosophical challenging of power and authority. Does a hierarchy of ideas exist? I mean, academically, yes. Philosophically, probably not. I mean, that's a pretty metaphysical question to ask, Memphis. Did he read the back cover at least? Maybe it was read to him, Pastique. Yeah, maybe it was read to him. That's what I could surmise. Audiobook. Yeah. Is there an audiobook of the back cover? There you go. By George W. Bush. this. Oh, no, that's just the summary. All right, I'll look into getting the PDF later. Oh, man, dude. Who would be the worst choice for reading you back cover? I got to tell you, maybe Donald Trump. I really despise his cadence. The manner in which he speaks really drives me nuts. I find it very difficult to listen to Trump. Politics aside, how he speaks, the manner in which he speaks, really bothers me. It'd be a bad one. I love all the list of ghostwriters. Oh my God, the list of ghostwriters on that premarital is brilliant. That's delicious. I was thinking about Joe Pesci. I could survive Pesci better. Do you believe Americans are being manipulated on both sides? Different ways to different degrees. I'm not an enlightened centrist. This is not equal. It's not that he lacks tact. It's that he lacks the ability to read. Donald Trump has never had to put in an academic day in his life. The fact of the matter is that he, according to Mary Trump at least, has a learning disability, likely has dyslexia to one degree or another, and bought his way, or his way was purchased through most of his education. So his reading comprehension is not exactly amazing. So listening to him read out loud is painful. Because, Sam, I contextualize violent actions in the modern context. I take them from a contemporary point of view, understanding that the system is set up to deal with that violence and to utilize it and to co-opt it. Hey, Guillotine. Gilbert Gottfried. No, I think I could stand Gilbert, because Gilbert's funny, right? Gilbert's funny. Abraham Lincoln has a super high-pitched voice. It's kind of way up here, sort of thing going on. But we're not talking about that. That's not the point. We were literally talking about having who would be the most, who would be the most annoying person to have an audiobook, read an audiobook or narrate an audiobook. And Donald Trump's cadence is one of the most annoying cadences that I can think of off the top of my head. So we weren't criticizing his role as a president. We were criticizing his ability to speak and read aloud. Now, if you want to talk about criticisms as a president, we can go down that road, because he's a shit president too. He's a shit human being. So we could go down that road. But we're talking about who would be terrible to listen to in an audiobook. Obama has such panache when he spoke publicly. Obama has the rhythm of an econ lecturer. Honestly, he reminds me of like first hour economics or something. I don't get this Obama is a brilliant orator rhetoric. I just don't understand it. I guess when compared to like back-to-back when you got W and then you got Trump on either side of you, by comparison, you're going to look amazing. As long as you can verbalize the sentence in one coherent statement, you're probably going to be amazing. Yes, given the context, exactly. Memphis, the problem you're having is you're trying to encapsulate it into a singular worldview. And what I do is I have a temporal stretching of my political and my political worldviews, right? So there's what needs to be done today and tomorrow and the next day. And then there's what I would like to be done 10 years from now and 50 years from now and 100 years from now. And I separate those out ideologically and philosophically. So, because if you sandwich them into a singular, into some sort of like philosophical singularity, what happens is it's very difficult to make progress. And so I'm more concerned about heading in a particular direction than accomplishing the end state tomorrow, which oftentimes you'll find on the left, people lose sight of progress in the pursuit of that perfection. And that is what I'm an advocate against specifically, is that you need to break these tasks down into manageable pieces, and you need to accomplish those manageable pieces rather than being out on the corner advocating for, you know, full luxury and fully automated luxury space, a gay space communism tomorrow, right? That gets us nowhere. What I'm advocating for is from the position of an anarchist, that I would like this to happen. And this, you know, may take this step, which necessarily contradicts the end state, because the interim state is a necessity. I can't break down the state tomorrow. I cannot dissolve the borders tomorrow. But what I can do is increase the social welfare for the populace to a position where the proletariat, the masses, are in a position financially, socially, politically, that we can start having that conversation about that in the future. But right now, what's happening is that we have been co-opted and we have been captured into a neo-feudal corporatocracy of sorts. And we need to address that first. So there's a dude robbing you blind, but there's a dude with a knife in your back. You got to deal with the dude with the knife in your back first. So it's a prioritization. It's essentially political triage of sorts that I conduct every day of the week. So that may be where your hang up is you're looking for one singular state of my political ideology, whereas my political ideology actually stretches temporally. And so what I want as a whole is an anarchistic style of system. What I want is very much hang on. Let me address this. Jesus Christ. Mélenchon for France. Jean-Luc.
Eh bien, salut. Figurez-vous que, dans le sourire et un air très poli, petit à petit se débarrasser de leur stock de dollars dans leur banque centrale.
Without understanding a word of it, I like his manner of speech, Pastique, for sure. Just out of like a half a sentence, I like how he speaks. It should happen. Fetus. It should happen. We need some moment where we can come to terms with the fact that we're on the wrong path and pivot. And if there ever was a point in time that it could be accomplished, it would be now. Now would be the time. Jesus Christ, what's happening over here? Ow. Fucking. Oh my God, stop telling me this shit. I don't care. There we go. All right. I just finished a video about this channel named TLDR going over the backlash towards the Latinx Games Festival on Steam, and it was glorious. Supposed to last 2 days, but the backlash was so bad it only lasted 15 hours. Latin American Latinos and Latinas don't like that term. It's an Anglo term. It has no linguistic construct within their language. It's a stupid fucking term that you guaranteed a white person foisted upon them. Hey, Christina. Yes. For now, Christina. For now. We'll see. Yes, Pastique. Yeah, Mélenchon. My French is terrible. My French pronunciations are terrible. Forgive me. Same shit. There we go. And I'm caught up, sort of. And then Pastique pumps in something. We actually have a lot of great leftist orators in France because it's something we value a lot. What a concept. For any Spanish speakers, look up Sergio Massa, smoothest orator in Argentine politics. Centrist opportunist bitch, but he can make you agree with anything. And that's the thing. Like, you know, you have to separate the art from the artist, right? He left you a decent half. Like, I like that. That's sly. Oh my God, Sam, why do you pick a fight with literally everyone? Dirtling. Hatred for it, I think, is 99% in the Latin community. Also, I'm Hispanic, so yes, I absolutely, I believe, have it or hate it. Yeah, it's an artificial, inorganic term guaranteed to be foisted upon them by some random white person. And it is, you know, because I know what comes after the question. Oh, now I'm actually caught up. All right. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, Ghost. Okay, Sam. Hey, Normazard. Let's say she said yes. What were you gonna say after that? Surprise me. I'm sure it's not going to be a challenge to her ideology and an attempt to convert to some sort of communistic tendency, right? Not at all. You know how it goes, Nomazard. Oh, I didn't tell any of the stories. All right, so here's the stories from the weekend. Now I have a bit of an audience. So, couple things happened over the weekend. We'll start with, yeah, all right. We'll start with relatable to everybody, and then we'll go inside baseball. All right? So, over the weekend, a couple of things happened. Here's the first one. I was out for a walk around my neighborhood. Now, those of you who have heard me describe my neighborhood before, you're welcome, Memphis. If you ever want to come on the air and have a conversation, you're welcome to, Memphis. All right, so if those of you have heard me describe my neighborhood before, it's not a gated community, but it is definitely a part of the bougie part of town, right? So, you know, it's that kind of neighborhood. So I'm out walking around the neighborhood. This was yesterday, and it's daytime, not nighttime. Keep in mind, I've lived in this neighborhood for over 10 years now, something like that. And basically, it's an isolated community. Basically, there's one way in, one way out, and it's just a loop. So, walk up, turn left, turn left, turn left, turn left, right? There's only 4 roads that you can work with in this community. I walk up and I turn left. Now, one of my neighbors, I mean, you know, distant, but still a neighbor, is out working on one of his cars. One of his 5 cars, I may add. He's out working on one of his cars. Old boomer white dude. Big old fat boomer white dude. I walk around, and as I turn the corner, I catch out of my peripheral vision that he's staring me down. He has done that like thing where you come further and further from your house so you can get a viewpoint, and he's watching me. Now, I know him. I know his wife. I used to ride my bike at night around the same time as his wife would go out for walks because it made her feel safer. All right? So I keep on walking. I'm like, that was weird, but whatever. Walk down the hill, turn a left, and start walking back up that road, which is sort of an incline. About 2/3 the way up that road, a black F-150 Lightning Edition, which costs just an overpriced piece of junk, comes literally screeching around the corner. And he rolls up to me and slams on his fucking brakes. With the window down, he yells at me. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" Walking? Why are you walking around here? 'Cause I live here. And what right do you have to interrogate me? We've had a bunch of robberies around here. I want to know what you're doing walking around here like this. Now, at this point, I've had enough. I say, you know what? I'm done with you. Have a good one. And I start walking. Ka-kunk. He's now got the vehicle in reverse. And he's following me in reverse back up the street. So I stop again in sort of an effort to make sure that he doesn't slam into somebody, because we are coming up to a stop sign and he's going to be in the middle of it at this rate. So I stop and turn to him and say, "What the hell do you want?" He said, "Well, you should be thankful that I'm doing something like this." Sorry, what? Why should I be thankful that an old crazy guy is literally going around harassing people in this neighborhood? Well, it's a good thing because we've had robberies and you should be thankful. I mean, I cut him off and I told him, I said, I remember when that house on the corner had a home invasion 7 years ago. This is weird, and it doesn't make me feel any safer that a random dude is harassing people on the street in my neighborhood because he's paranoid and thinks people may be out to rob him. Well, you don't have to get defensive with me. You don't have to get rude. I said, no, I really do have to get defensive Because the fact of the matter is you've taken the law into your own hands at this point. And this right here, this is how some George Zimmerman shit goes down. He literally rolled his eyes and went, ugh, at the mention of George Zimmerman and fucking threw it in drive, turned the vehicle around, and whipped up the other direction again. Now, me being me, of course, I was going to go home. I was done. I had done the laps I wanted to do. But not now. Now I have to walk by his place again, right? It's right up there. It's a short journey. So as I turn the corner, I can see his house. He's left his garage door and his doors to his other vehicle wide open, while he goes out and, like, fat Batmans his way across the neighborhood. So in his attempt to escalate this process, I guess, he literally left himself more vulnerable to a robbery. So what happened if I wasn't me? No, I walked on by, but I did stare at him and I did wave at him, and I call him George from now on. Yeah, it's almost like it wasn't about security at all. I'm calling him George Zimmerman from this point forward. I'm just, hey, George. What would have happened if I were some young black kid? Or some random Latino? How would that have played out differently? He's trying to give someone an easy target so he can shoot someone. I know, right? It was definitely an interesting experience. Let's just put it that way. You know, yeah. Fat Batman. Yeah, it was weird. I found Texas people creepy when I go around with my bike. And keep in mind, not a private neighborhood, not private roads. These are public sidewalks and public roads. Anybody has any legal reason, anybody could be walking on them. There is no restriction to that. And so he just, in his paranoid vigilante mentality, decided that he was going to be the one to save the day. I would like to point out that I was wearing a hoodie. It wasn't up, but I was wearing a hoodie. And in my heart of hearts, I do think that might have had something to do with it. I legitimately do. You know? Yeah. It was funny, though. The George Zimmerman thing shut the entire conversation down. So, here's the inside baseball story. For those of you who know old Mike, the ex-friend, the former co-host, Conspiracy Mike, and hello Jay, listening in post. I would, yes, old Nike boy. Oh. No one in particular. No, Mazard. I would just read about, I would literally start a search and start reading. I would not go for any one in particular author. Go to the Anarchist Library. Yeah, it's literally theanarchistlibrary.org, and pull up as much as you can on the topic. I'm not a fan of advocating for individual authors on individual topics. All right. So, I got a call over the weekend, and like I said, this is inside baseball for for a lot of you, this isn't going to mean a whole lot. Right now, I'm talking to my OG community, basically. I got a call from a buddy in California about Mike. And apparently, he has followed the conspiracy pipeline to its inevitable conclusion. We all know that pipeline feeds all the way down into bigotry, racism, anti-Semitism, and a whole host of really extreme viewpoints. And so this buddy calls me and says that he's having a conversation with him. And it was the last conversation. He was out at their house on the way passing through. I don't know to where. And he started a rant about how if we had only dealt with the Jews properly, we wouldn't have a whole host of the issues we have today. And that blacks had it good, or had it better than they will admit under chattel slavery. Yeah. I'm really glad I cut him loose. Yeah, Pestique. I watched. Did he go full QAnon? I think he would. I think it's further than QAnon, right? I think he would denounce QAnon. I think he would be like, well, that's some like controlled opposition, like social engineer shit. Yeah. He's in deep. He's in real deep. Yeah. I watched him go from, Atlantis is a fun concept, some fucking ancient alien shit, to Alex Jones, too deep for QAnon, for sure. To AJ is, controlled opposition, to, this is the real shit, and to, Yeah, and it has been mentioned that I may have been the last thing holding him, like the last tether. Don't worry, there's no guilt. I don't feel anything about this. But I may have been the last, like, tether of sanity holding him to the ground. And when I cut him loose, there was nothing holding him back anymore. And he just went full bore. And so in that sort of 6 months, he managed to go from it's a controlled system with, Illuminati back underpinnings and shit like that to full bore, like the Jews will not replace us, and 1350 and 88 sort of shit. Yeah. So there's an update on Mike. For those of you who have been around since the days of Mike. Somebody you do not know, reckon he's ever checked this out? Maybe. And if he has, Mike, stop, man. Stop. It's a drug. Stop. Dude, stop. Come back to reality. Stop. It's a drug. That's all I got for you, my man. We'll be waiting here. The days of Mike. Is that a link to the Summer of Sam? Kaiser. We're talking about a very long-time friend, who is now an ex-friend. Mike Machine Broke. Please try again later. Who I co-hosted a podcast with, who I had to cut loose because of his insane leanings and conspiracy theories. And it has gotten so deep that he's now full bore, you know, the blacks had it good under slavery and we should have killed all the Jews territory. Like, he took that conspiracy pipeline to its, Dirtling, it's way beyond that point. He lost every friend, right? We all tried. Like, people tried in multiple fashions. There were those that tried emotional appeals. There were those that tried logical appeals. There were those that said, I'm going to kick your fucking ass if you say that shit one more time. There was multiple. Sometimes you just wish them the best and cut them loose and hope they don't end up on the news. But I watched it basically beginning to end. 15 years, something like that. Yeah, 15 years. I watched it. I was there for it. Oh, we went along for some of the ride, right? Some of the old days of conspiracy theories were fun. Oh, Dirtling, the lockdown is make it far worse, because this is definitely a giant conspiracy. Like, masks are blah, 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 blah. You can only imagine somebody of that, you know, infected mentality. And I mean, I know what he would have to say about me talking like this. I've sold out. I'm one of the sheeple. I've been blah, 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 blah. It's a serious thing and issue. Going down that rabbit hole to trap a device. We need better mental health resources. We do, Dirtling. We do. Premarital, one of my high school friends has got to the maybe liberal feminists actually want to enslave men stage of conspiracy theories. Oh, all right. So about a 4 out of 10, if I had to rate it. Mike has maxed the scale, right? Like, he has uprooted his life. He's going on the road to, like, make sure nobody can, like, pin him down. It's rough. It's rough. My aunt was one of those, actually. Dirtling. I mean, there's no way around it. Wait, hang on. Nice. Yeah, so those are my 2 stories from the weekend. Fat Boomer Batman. Based on all this, I think he's somehow broken it. I mean, if there's an 11, then he hit it. I was accosted by Fat Boomer Batman. And I learned one of my oldest friends, ex-friend, I had to cut him loose, has firmly become insane. Yeah. Yeah, turn that off. There's no sense in it. Yeah, crazy weekend. Exactly. It was a bit weird. It was a bit weird having that conversation with, what's his username? In case he ever comes around. Frictar. Yeah. Having a conversation with him about it, and he's just like, man, he's gone off the deep end. Like, we already thought he went off the deep end. He said, but after that conversation, like a month ago, he said, I had to cut him loose. I'm like, dude, I cut him loose like 6 months ago. Like, dude, you can't. And as far as I know, there's only one other friend out of the original core group of people that is still alive and talking to him, and he's just as bad. Like, it's a feedback loop between the two of them. This isn't an exaggeration. Like, the NSA is watching his car in particular. That bad. Because you were once close to him, don't you get a little afraid for your own safety? No. No, I'm armed to the teeth and he is not. And I grew up with weapons training and that sort of stuff. If I have to defend my house or myself, I can do that. Yeah. So. No. Not afraid. I'm more worried about some rando, right? Like, I don't think he's coming back for me. I think that a year from now, after he's been living out in the woods or on the road in an RV or something, I don't know what his deal is, that he's going to perceive somebody to be like a agent of someone or something trying to like come up to his door and knock on it, and he might throw some rounds through it. Or that in a last-ditch attempt to, like, wake up the public, he might do something stupid. Like that. That's what concerns me more than my own personal safety. But that isn't an individual concern. I have that concern about all of these people. I think that is the concern. And that's why we need to talk more about mental health care in this country. And, you know, I do think that that's a very valid concern for a lot of these people. What's your favorite government or way of ruling that you've seen in the world? A country or a time or both, and why? Kospaya. J. Miles. Small, but I could get down. Kospaya. Let us know if Mike sends you a letter written with magazine cutouts asking you to join a death cult. He sent a picture to the same buddy from California who called me to inform me of these updates. He sent him a picture of a mask of an N95 with crazy serial killer magazine cutout letters spelling out, "This is a mind control device," beneath it. So he's already sending those kind of pictures and letters. Yeah. I mean, he didn't used to, but yeah, it was exacerbated and it some sort of feedback loop. It was, it was an interesting weekend for sure. All right. Let me just pull a different tab here. Cool. Conditions like that don't necessarily manifest until mid-20s. Well, then that would be when it started. Late 20s. It would have to be 29 to 32. 28. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was, most of us pulled out of it. Few people from the friend group died. Couple died. But most of us just one by one peeled off. And I was the second to last one. Dirtling, you can turn down your streaming quality. As to the nature of that, I mean, why does Google's server system, why is it superior to Amazon's? Well, I mean, there you go. But there's also other factors in play. But you can adjust the quality usually. Let me see if the affiliate quality right now. Nope, you can't right now. That's an on-demand basis, and sometimes the affiliates get cut off from it. I don't know about these conditions. I think the internet is so different to dissemination and communication that came before. This is a whole new thing. He definitely went down a bunch of rabbit holes. And he didn't emerge. He didn't. And so, you know, like I said, I watched the whole thing. And I was along for the ride for some of it. Conspiracies used to be fun. And then they turned into a whole other thing. And so, yeah, those like early 2000s, early to mid 2000s era of internet conspiracydom. It was fun. But it turned into a whole other thing. And he went along for that ride too. And as it seems, all the way to its inevitable conclusion. Elon, go away. Like, I couldn't imagine being a place where I'm not wanted. Remember the hidden phalluses in The Little Mermaid was a crackhead conspiracy theory? Oh, that was an adorable one. Me. You're nothing but combative and insulting. Me. You don't engage in the dialectic, honestly. Parasocial relationships do not make friendships. I've never spoken to you outside of a Twitch stream. Come on. You'd have to start showing some actual respect. Oh, God. For my beliefs. Hey, Linksy. How long have you been here, Lynx? I told the 2 stories from the weekend, and you didn't get to hear the second story. You've heard the first story, but just dropped in. Okay, I'll tell you the second story some other time. Yes. Yeah, there was, yeah. It was a new edition. I got 3 books I plan on reading. Blessed is the Flame, and the Unique in its Property, and the Novatori Collection, Egoism, Anarcho-Nihilism, and Illegalism. You've got a bunch of reading ahead of you, Nomazard. You're going to have to, Dirtling, you have to clarify that question. You're going to have to elaborate and add nuance. Oh, he may not be here anymore. I just told him to get lost. Maybe he's still here. He's condescending, he's insulting, he's, aggressive. That I can appreciate. Just a straight question. That I can appreciate. Of course you did. Of course you did. Nomazard. I'm pretty sure Dysnomia is a anarcho-nihilist. Sure. So you could go talk to them. No Mazard. If you're on my Discord server, then Dysnomia, Dysnomia. They're on my Discord server as well. So you could watch for their stream that way. Close that. Now, am I for individualist anarchism or social anarchism? I am for both, because I think a mixed system of anarchism works best, because I think purest forms of anything are a quick route to failure. So I think that there are aspects of social anarchism that are most appropriate and useful to adopt, and I think there are aspects of individualist anarchism that are most appropriate and useful to adopt. And I think a composite version of both of them is the healthful way to go. Here, use this one, No Mazard. Let me go change the one on the other one. I had to burn that one. Sorry. Channel. There we go. Save. And back to manager. There you go. You're welcome, No Mazard. Yeah, it's gotten to the point where I can't keep track of anybody on Discord. Got too many people in my fucking server. There we go. And update Discord. Good. Oh yeah, fucking Pope Francis. Oh, you know what? Let's look at the video that pisses me off. This video pisses me off so much. Ace, you know which one I'm going to.
Ja, hallo, ich bin Jana aus Kassel und ich fühle mich wie Sophie Scholl. Da ich seit Monaten aktiv im Widerstand bin, Reden halte, auf Demos gehe, Flyer verteile und auch seit gestern Versammlungen anmelde. Ich bin 22 Jahre alt, genau wie Sophie Scholl, bevor sie den Nationalsozialisten...
You're gonna get banned from here just for being an annoying cunt. Any general ideas for a system that's a mix of socialism and capitalism, capable of preventing things like oligopolies? Not only do you have to implement greater social safety net systems, you're going to have such a regulated have such a regulated version of capitalism that ultimately you're going to have to be put into place something like capital limits, so that there's literally a limit on how much capital people can accrue. Companies, individuals, that sort of thing. As like a stopgap measure to prevent regulatory capture from happening as well. Because once you amass a certain amount of resources, regulatory capture becomes basically inevitable, let alone a possibility. So you're going to have to put such tight limitations on the marketplace itself, and the individual and corporate personhood capital accruements, that you're going to end up with a near unrecognizable capitalistic system. I mean, you can definitely start with something of sort of Nordic inspiration, but even they are having, I was talking to a Ramsey one night, and he was talking from the Dutch perspective about how they're having the same sort of like Tory conservative GOP attempts of privatization and undermining of their public welfare systems and that sort of thing. So you're going to have to go down that route. The fact that this bitch invoked peace, motherfucker. You got banned from another one. Congratulations. The fact that this bitch invoked Sophie Scholl's name. Sophie is one of my heroes. Straight up. Like, I don't want her mouth. I don't want her name in her mouth. Like, it's that simple. I adore Sophie. She's one of the greatest human beings to ever walk this planet, in my opinion. And the fact that this bitch says she feels like Sophie Scholl because she's being told to wear a fucking mask. She's comparing herself to the 21-year-old who fucking held her head up high with, as I said earlier, poignant words on her tongue as she marched towards her inevitable execution at the hands of fascists. Fuck this bitch.
Zum Opfer fiel. Ich kann und werde niemals aufgeben, mich für Freiheit.
This random chick on screen, or Sophie Scholl, says, if you're asking about Sophie,
Frieden, Liebe und Gerechtigkeit einzusetzen.
that's what happens there.
Was?
Lass sie doch in Ruhe reden.
Nee, für so einen Schwachsinn mache ich doch keinen Ordner mehr.
Was für Schwachsinn.
Für so einen Schwachsinn mache ich doch keinen Ordner mehr. Soll ich keinen Ordner mehr? Für so einen Schwachsinn. Also jetzt mal ernst, beim besten Willen.
Was hat für ein Schwachsinn?
Wer sowas hier erzählt, dann sagt er doch Verharmlosung vom Holocaust.
War jetzt schon mal gesprochen.
Verharmlosung.
Ja, ich hab doch gar nichts gesagt.
Wie sind die schuld?
Wie ich das nicht.
Gottes Willen, hängen geblieben. Hängen geblieben. Das ist mehr als peinlich.
And there's the hissy fit. Yeah. I feel like Sophie Scholl. Hold on, let me throw a hissy fit because a security guard quit on me. I swear to God. Or at least act like she was crying. Yeah, boo fuckity who. His like orange blazer, like, you know, security guard, like, hey, you know, thing. Yes, 6 whole cops in riot armor walked that man out premarital. Yeah, his stupid, like, high-vis vest is what he handed her. Like, I'm not working security for you. Yeah, that's one of those spots for me, right? That's one of those spots. Like, Sophie Scholl was an amazing human being. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Like, you know, I feel like Sophie Scholl because I'm being told to put on a mask. They do, but even they struggle with them sometimes premarital. Yeah, he did nothing wrong. Just disagree. No violence, no threats, and he's escorted out because she's a victim. It's absolutely ridiculous. But hey. What else were we talking about earlier today? Oh yeah, the latest one. This was the latest one that happened. Protests erupt in Omaha after police fatally shoot black man during a traffic stop.
While peaceful in practice, tonight's demonstration in response to the fatal shooting of Kenneth Jones was by no means calm. Demonstrations are calling for body camera footage, which police have already reviewed. But even if it is released, demonstrators say they won't trust it.
For some reason, I feel like they edit body
Motherfucker,
cam
put your
footage
mask
don't
over
show
your
the
nose.
real deal.
So I asked for clarity. What is the purpose of this demonstration?
We just want to let them know that we're not going to back down just because they hide behind masks and badges.
Omaha police delivered a more detailed report explaining repeated attempts to get Jones to exit a vehicle and show his hands. Instead, they said he reached for a weapon, which they found at the scene, a .45 caliber handgun with a round in the chamber. And
Which
with
is
signs
standard
like, "Release
policy."
the records and how does it feel to kill the innocent? They said part of tonight was simply about expressing pain.
I'm tired of seeing black lives dying every single day. No reason. It needs to stop. We need justice. We need answers tonight.
From some of the loudest
Not getting it, my
to
man.
some of the youngest.
Put your mask on.
Demonstrators say they will not take any of
I watched a video the other day, part of a documentary involving part of it was they sent a bunch of U.S. officers over to Europe because there was multiple police departments involved. But they watched a Dutch set of officers take down a machete-wielding guy, a machete-wielding perpetrator. And the American cops just sat there like gobsmacked with their jaws on the floor. They said, look at them. None of them have guns. Like, what? One guy just goes, oh, yeah, he would have been shot already. Yeah, we would have shot him. Like, we would have shot him. He said, I don't understand why you guys just don't shoot him. Like, it was beyond their comprehension that there was a methodology for peacefully taking down somebody who was threatening a police officer with a machete. Yeah. I think I have... Let me try and find that out of my history. It's gonna be it's gonna be yesterday probably. Yeah, there it is. Hardwire, Law of the Gun. Copy link. If anybody wants to watch it on YouTube, there it is in full. I agree. Of course they did, Ace. It's because the police here are too militarized. I've covered before at length the origins of and problems with modern policing, and there's a confluence of factors at play. The 1033 militarization program definitely is a contributing factor. There's no way around that. Ace, I got pulled over 2 nights ago with a car full of kids. They approached me with their guns drawn. Reason for pulling me over still unknown. Of course. It's part of their training regiment is that you are pumped so full of fear and such a distrust towards hesitation. They show them high-definition videos of officers getting shot, and they tell them things along the lines of, this is what happens when you hesitate. Do you want to do you want to be able to go home at the end of your shift? Do you want to see your wife? Do you want to see your mother again? Do you want to see your kids again? Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. And so that is a huge part of their training cycle. So you have that as well. So there is no moment of reflection. There is no moment of clarity that they can focus on. All they do is they see a twitch, they pull. It's that simple. Sometimes they don't even see a twitch. It's just what they perceive. If U.S. cops think they're tough shit, they should watch one of my coworkers tackle an armed assailant, get shot in the gut, and go to work next Monday like nothing happened. Fuck yeah. I mean, that's terrible, but fuck yeah, that's badass. Yeah, your ass is paranoid. You shoot a guy because of it, then you're on national news and slammed by society. But if you're a cop, don't worry. You'll be able to get a job the next town over, no problem. History teacher in his 50s, greater than all of NYPD. Yeah. Yeah. And as much as I'm tired of covering that story, I mean, you can always become a security guard. Jeez. I mean, do you know how many fucking times we've had to tell that story? I mean, I can't even begin to fathom what that feels like from within the Black and minority communities, right? To have that story every day. Every fucking day. Hang on, let me just go to Bad Cop No Donut. Hang on, let me just pull this up. Just pull up Bad Cop No Donut on Reddit. We'll just have a fucking list. Fucking anywhere I look. California, France, South Dakota, fucking, let's see, who's this? Oh, LAPD, of course. Fucking Philly, Boston, Kalamazoo. Jesus Christ. Kansas City. And France, Pastique. Have you seen that French law that's making its way through? It hasn't been passed yet, but it's been read in. It had its first reading on Article 24. Okay. You could go to prison and be fined 45,000 euros if you share identifiable videos or images of police officers that intend to, quote, undermine their physical or mental integrity. Time for the yellow vests. That's all I gotta say. Yep. Time for the yellow vests. Article 22. Which one's Article 22? I'm just looking now. Okay, yeah. All right, so the drone one. Yeah, allowing drones for regulating demonstrations. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. If you'd like to actually engage in the dialectic and use rhetorical device, mud-bud, and begin to discern the difference between communism and anarchism and maybe socialism and, liberalism and conservatism, I'd love to engage. I'd love to have the conversation. Oh, threats to violence. Who would have guessed that would be a thing? Oh. Who would think that type of person would engage in threats of violence? I am shocked. I am shocked. I am. No, really. This is my shocked face. Ace, it's literally our lives. We're raised on the stories. When we're told to go outside and play, we're lectured about police safety and fear we won't come home for dinner. Not stranger danger, police danger. I remember I remember talking to my boyfriend, for those of you who don't know, Black, about the conversation. right? Like, this is a weird phenomenon. White kids get the conversation and it's about sex. But if you're black, the conversation is about getting shot by the popo. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's getting shot by the cops. And, you know, we sort of had that conversation surrounding it. That, you know, that talking about when his parents had the conversation with him. Let's see. Nice. Lady used a banderole with helium balloons to shit on Macron. So a drone followed her to her home to find out who she was. Lovely. A lawful citizen of Amazon Net. So as it was, prohibited piece of police work. Lovely. Yeah, they decided to make a law allowing it instead. Basically, Macron's government will sustain employees by using police, so they want to enforce police leverage of power. Yep, facts. The coming of age conversation in black communities. Yeah, it's weird. As a white kid who, you know, I had the conversation, right? It's about sex, right? But in a black household, that's not what it's about. And it's just symptom of a sick society. We had a lot of other weird stuff during the last 5 years. Well, I mean, the last 5 years, you guys have really been getting out and protesting a lot, too. So I can only imagine what the... thank you for following, Dreadnoughts. Since Manuel Valls became prime minister, I can only imagine that, yeah. Oh, I know, but come on. We all know France and their protesting history. But yeah, especially, let me go check you out. How late is it for you, Pasty? Can you, do you want to have a conversation? I always enjoy hearing about, variety of, European politics. Bob, it's time we have the talk. Dad, I already learned about that in biology class. No, son, this is a different talk about how cops are the worst people to roam this land. You do that, Bastique. You do that. Yeah. Yeah, that is how it goes down, Mitre. Did I? Oh, I paused it rather than. He's done that before. He has done that. Okay. I'll meet you. You go to voice chat. I'll pull you into on air.
Okay, so you wanted to talk about what's happening right now in France. So as I was saying, like in my hometown, we used to have some kind of status quo with the police, where during like the last 60 years, we instead of declaring our demonstration, we will just organize directly the demonstration. And the police will just decide to go around and we will not have to fight with them. So 5 years ago, with Manuel Valls changing, he decided to change the way police will intervene in this kind of things. And we had the first fight with the police. Subsequently, I live in Le Havre in Normandy, which is an harbor town, and we have a really strong Docker movements over there. When they start a strike, there are like 3,000 Dockers coming in the streets at the right moment. And for the first time in 60 years, the Dockers decided that their wife and children can be in the demonstration, and at the time the police decided to attack the demonstrations. And it was the 1st of May demonstration, which is normally a place where, on the 1st of May, it's just like a little like the gay pride. You just go around and nothing happened. Everyone is parading, but not. So by doing so, people got really upset, and they start to decide to fight with the police a little more. So we also changed the way we were doing a demonstration at the same time. The police decided also to change their way. Like, for example, they create techniques that they call the NAS, like the basket, basically. They will go into a demonstration, come with lots of police riot forces to cut the demonstration in 2 or 3 groups, basically in the middle, and to pressure the people in the middle. So we might have like 300 persons in the middle, and by doing so, they separate the demonstration. So they use this kind of strategy to actually erase violence. They might block people for 2 hours, and the people being surrounded by the police cannot escape. And generally, at one moment, they throw tear gas in the middle of the people that they have put in their basket situations. So those techniques are actually pretty new. And they broke what the police were doing from before. Like people who were actually more right wing than the last people in power, which were like Sarkozy, Chirac, who were like from the right wing, the equivalent of Biden, basically, in your country, and Hollande, which is basically the equivalent of a mild Clinton, decided to change their way. And because nobody is actually following their new group and their new situation, like Manuel Valls, when he was prime minister, he was voted by 5% of the Socialist Party for the election. Socialist Party is a right-wing party in France. So he didn't have a real basis for the policy he wanted to implement. And Macron is from the same blend. Macron created a new party before the elections using a lot of funds from the rich people of like the French diaspora, basically. And so what basically happened with that is that as he doesn't really have a basis with people like like foot soldiers that will do the job of propaganda for the rest of the country inside. They use the police to make sure that the demonstrators are not making too much noise. So in the last 5 years, the violence has rised up. And at the same time, we can also see that with the uprise of the use of like phones, people were able to caught on camera policemen doing shitty stuff. So we have the example of one of the Macron's close colleagues who were actually put a mask from the police to intervene inside the demonstration and beating people up, while he was actually someone like not the Secretary of State, but someone who were working close to like the Secretary of State or something. So basically, it's white collars that for fun during Saturday will come to work with the police to beat up people.
Lovely.
So, yeah, lovely. And so that was caught on cameras, and we caught a lot of other stuff on camera who were pretty terrible. Like there were a kid who got knocked by the police directly, like hitting him in the face. He was like 15 years old. Of course, a black kid.
As is tradition.
Another time there were like a strike of that was also 4 years ago, but that was like the beginning. I'm just giving an example from the beginning of what happened. So those kids, 15 years old, they were complaining about I don't remember what was the topic, but basically what happened is like police decided to come with like 300 members of the police riot forces, and arrested 150 kids, kneeling them on the floor, and made a video of it that they put on internet. And on the video, the policemen are saying, "Look, this is how the teacher should do in classes to make sure that the kids stay quiet." Some kids were actually, like kneeling down and threatened by the policemen. So like Guantanamo style.
No, trust me. All of the Americans know exactly what you're talking about. we can envision it, no problem. We've seen it thousands of times.
You had that was one example. There were also like during a demonstration in Marseille, which is a big city in the south of France. They were throwing tear gas directly, like almost everywhere. And someone who were living on the 4th floor of a building, a whole lady, actually died from one of those shots. So they don't even they don't know how to use. Basically, they're showing that they don't know how to use their weapon.
Oh no, they know how to use it. They just yeah.
And then we had all the other cases where some people were shot point blank with rubber bullets, and we had lots of cases of people who lost an eye, some others that lost an hand.
Yep.
Notably with like rubber bullet grenades. We had a guy who died in Nantes from those things. We had another cases during like the music festival. So music festival in France is pretty nice. Like every 21st of June, we have this really big concert where people are going in the street and having concerts everywhere. If you go to France on that day, that's the day that you should mark on your things. So normally those concerts go really late at night, up to 2 a.m. or something. So in industrial areas, they were having concert, and the police decided to charge in 30% ended up in the canal. And of course, a person died.
So they just charge in and just drive people into the sea, basically.
They basically charge. Yeah, and on top of that, it's also people who have drunk. Who drank before, so you don't charge them at midnight, just next to these kind of places.
Yeah.
And it's in industrial areas. There's no people living around this, and it was also something organized by the city. It was not.
So
you have many cases like that.
Are the police just sort of doing their own thing? Like, is that they've sort of become their own authoritarian arm? And
so the way it's organized is like you have what we call a prefect, and the prefect is chosen by Macron, basically the president of the Republic, and those prefects are actually leaders in every region of France, with special cases for Paris, because Paris is almost a region by itself. And for example, the prefect of Paris is basically a Nazi. And I'm not being overly dramatic about this. We have word, like for example, one lady we were just talking to him in the street. He just told him like, "We are not in the same camp, lady." When she was just like a normal citizen, she was not even like a left wing or something. He's basically showing that. Yeah, he's basically showing that he doesn't care about the people, and for him, the government and the police force is the reality for the rest of the world, and he has to enforce law and order to them. He likes to wear outfits that looks like Gestapo outfit.
Nice.
Which is also telling something on someone. Like he has no the prefect in France are actually wearing those things. It's not like a uniform. So
he just has adopted his own personal style.
Yeah, exactly. And so depending on regions, you have different things that happen. But in Paris, it's pretty fucked up. And there's a reason for that. Like Paris is the capital. You have lots of places of power. So they use all those tactics like that in Paris. Right now, I need to rethink a little about. Like I've talked a lot. I need to make a small pause to re-put my ID in order because I have a delay when I'm talking, and it's kind of.
I have a non-political question for you, because you're in Texas, right?
Yeah, I'm in Texas right now.
How in the hell do they deal with your accent?
Oh, actually, it depends from people to people. Some people have some difficulties, and but mostly it's not that much of a problem. People realize that I have an accent, of course, but it's not necessarily that hard.
Wow. Yeah, I was just, envisioning, I'm like, Texas, like, boy, what you on about?
Like, we didn't really choose. Like, my wife is a researcher, so in our situation, you find a job where you are your academic work is valued. So we had that's why we were living in Hong Kong before coming to Texas. If I had to make a choice, I will never had necessarily choose Hong Kong or Texas. So, so that's definitely not was the cities on my list.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, like I'm a kind of guy that never wanted to have a driver license because I thought cars were not something that were useful in life. In Texas,
Then
I have some issues.
Then you came to America and saw we built an entire country around the idea you better have a fucking car.
Yeah, like you invented a word like jaywalking. Like the idea of jaywalking, it's something that is born in America. That doesn't exist in most other countries. This word doesn't exist.
Well, do you know the history of jaywalking? It's actually really
I
interesting.
know the history of jaywalking. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a derogatory term for poor people, and it finds its origins with the propaganda arm
from the countryside.
Yep. And it finds its origins with the propaganda arm of the automotive industry.
Yeah, to basically explain that the people who were crossing the street were stupid, while in the US, like most people are actually doing sport in the streets at one point. So all these suburban areas are used to like Wentworth style playing hockey outside.
There's nothing this country can't use capitalism to ruin.
Texans doesn't hate anyone that is not Texan, but Texans definitely hate people who are just passing in the neighborhood. That's why, like I was saying higher in the chat, that yesterday, like for example, I was passing with my bike around the city, and one of the guys who were living 3 blocks away from me yelled at me hello, just to show me that I was like in a polite way to told me that I was not welcome passing on bike around his house, because you have no reasons to yell those kind of things that close to someone.
Yeah, well.
So you have some people that are weird, and but Texans are not way different from the other Americans. A lot of you are like actually really proud of being born somewhere, and
yeah, except
I don't say that French people are not, but when you try to explain every day that this country is not perfect,
some of us were born in non-insane states.
Oh, you mean Vermont?
Yes.
I have a friend from Vermont too, so yeah, it seems like one of the decent ones.
Yeah, there's a handful of states in this country that are like, don't associate us with the rest of them, please.
So, I'm not whining about someone yelling. I'm whining about the fact that that's not the proper way to behave in society. So if you don't behave with others like the normal way, there must be a reason behind that. And the reason was like, oh, he might be a thief because he's on bike. Only poor people are on bike around here. So if there's a new person on bike that I've never seen, he must be a dangerous person. I need to show him that here we're looking at each other's.
Yeah, it's a method of saying I'm looking at you. I'm watching you.
Similar to what your neighbor did to you.
The areas of Texas I was in hated me. One of those lock your door type shit if I was in the neighborhood, says Ace. Yeah. Familiar with those parts. What are you going to do? But, yeah, no, it's... Have you seen... So, in your opinion, the last 20 years of sort of like French political spectrum, has it been pulling to the right?
It's complicated to explain. Like we don't have bipartisan in France. Like during most of elections, we have lots of different.
Yeah, no, you
parties who
have
are-
a parliamentary system of multi-party systems that have to form a system of governance, but
Yeah, but even our two steps voting systems, like when we vote for to put someone in power, we will have lots of candidates, and you will vote first for your candidate, and the two best one, or sometimes the three best one, depending on the situation,
Yeah,
will
but-
run for the last situation, which makes actually difficult for bipartisans to get implemented, which is something that the USA should do to rethink their constitutions to get rid of the bipartisanship that is actually biasing.
But with policies heading the direction of Article 24 and Article 22, and the nature of how the police are interacting with the public on a more regular basis, or at least the tonality of how, like, I mean,
it's very authoritarian right now.
yeah, this speaks
Very
to
authoritarian.
yeah, this speaks to a pull in a particular direction.
Yeah, so you can see that as a shift to the right, but it's actually kind of more complicated like this, because at the same time, the Socialist Party just decayed, and we had the left wing who is actually rebuilding and is actually becoming quite strong. So, for example, we pretty much have a good shot for the next presidential elections. So the problem is not exactly the country shifting to the right. It's people in the left and the right, and even the center, is becoming more and more radicalized. Right now, for example, you have some people who call Macron an extreme centrist. That's a concept we didn't have before, extremist centrist. And so we basically have like three poles that are emerging right now in France, which is the left wing, whose components are like Mélenchon Party, the French Communist Party, and the French Revolutionary Communist Party, who is called now the Anti-Capitalist Party. Then you have like a Socialist Party and the Green Party that I don't know exactly where they will be on stage, and that's also one of the problems, because in a normal world, the Green Party should ally with the left, but our left-wing party in France are weirdly composed, and the head of the party, like the directors, are shifting to the right, while the base of the party is shifting to the left, which is making things kind of complicated. And they have kind of a role of referee during the elections between will we go to have someone more centrist or someone more to the left, depending on how the debates is going. And then you have like the right wing, who is actually right now becoming the base of Macron, because Macron, people realized that he was not a centrist, but he was actually quite right-wing. And then you have the far right. And our far right in France is not as far right as the Republicans. Like,
Of course
our far
not.
right is not as bigoted as yours, for example. So most of when we hear Republicans on TV, they look more crazy than our far right.
Of course, that's about par for the course for our country.
So someone were asking how the fuck do centrists get more radical center? It's easy. They just become authoritarian. They just enforce their own point of view of a statu quo and a liberal economy. There's no alternative kind of way of thinking, and then they implement it without listening to anybody and using police forces to ensure that we keep continuing giving more money to the big companies.
He said that basically everybody's getting more authoritarian. So rather than a right-left swing, what they're heading is they're heading an up-down swing. As far as like a two-axis compass goes, it seems people are leaning more towards authoritarianism these days.
Exactly. I mean, the left wing is not going authoritarianism, but we also had the terrorist attack, which is also making everything go weird. Right now, I mean, we are not a secular country in France. We are a laic country. So laicity is something really dear to French people. Normally, you don't speak that much about religions, but because of this terrorist attack, we had the far right and who are emerged to put all the questions about religions and especially Muslim religions or anti-Semite debates on TV. There are like some new words that they just invent recently to say that, oh, the left wing, you are discarded as what they call Islamo-leftist.
Interesting.
Which, when you're a left wing and you're like profoundly, deeply atheist, which is very, very weird to be called like that, just because we were saying that due to the terrorist attack, some people from the Islam, from Arabs and black people, were more targeted by police forces, and there were more racism towards them recently. And on the top of that, we also have another problem, like our medias in France have a lot of like billionaires that took control of them. Right now, you have 8 billionaires that are controlling 90% of the French medias.
And that seems eerily familiar.
5 of them are like right wing, but like, you know, the liberal types of right wing, and the 3 others are really far right. So right now we have like 2 TV channels, like CNews and BFM TV, who are very, very right wing shifted. They are not as right wing as Fox News, but they are not that far away from it either. So that's another problem. And they also do like those kind of shitty things where like, oh, we have 2 experts to discuss about the politics and the news. One expert is like considers a left wing and is actually like slightly left of Macron, and the other one is borderline Nazis.
Yeah.
And one of those guys who were actually one of the most famous polemists, he has been condemned several times for because in France you can be condemned for 8 speeches. So he has been condemned like 5 times for 8 speeches, and he's still on TV.
Mitre had a question for you.
Go for it.
Have you ever read Soumission?
Submission Mate? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's
Submission. That's probably S&M book. Maybe, maybe not.
I'm guessing by I would butcher the last name, but by Michel.
No, that doesn't ring a bell. No, Michel was the right pronunciation, I guess, but it doesn't ring a bell. I was the kind of leftist that.
There you go. There's a link to the Amazon page at least.
Praxis. So, Michel Houellebecq. Okay, I know who is Michel Houellebecq. Well, Michel Houellebecq, I don't want to write his work. He's pretty right wing. He's a famous writer right now. It's like one of the bestsellers kind of writers. But at the same time, he is a very depressive, cynical types of guy who is borderline racist and very right wing. So I don't have any appeal to read any of his books.
There you go, Mitre. There's your answer. No need to read the crazy fucking racist dude.
It's more complicated than this. I don't even know if he's like I don't even know if in terms of literature is a good work or not. Some people sometimes write things that they are right wing and their book is still interesting.
Fox, but, forgive me.
It doesn't seem to be the case from the people I know who read it.
Fox, were you here the night of the clusterfuck? Is that why you're asking? Because if you're one of the ones that came in during the night of the clusterfuck, and I told, like, if you're here in good faith, tonight is probably not the night, come back another night, by all means, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome either way. but I think that might be in reference to that. And if so, then welcome back. I'm sorry the first time you stepped foot into this channel was that night then. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to deal with, that sort of situation. Either way. Sorry.
So, what did they say about Islam that put a problem to some people in France? Because right now in France we have like lots of Islamophobia, and so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's exactly what I thought it was. Welcome back, Fox. Because somebody raided in bad faith, somebody brigaded the channel. And it became a untenable situation for rhetorical engagement. So anybody who actually wanted to have a good faith conversation that night, it was not the night to be had due to extraneous factors, shall we say.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Just
no,
to
good.
respond to Betray, Soumission being about Islamophobia makes sense regarding who Michel Houellebecq is, and I response in interviews. You should not be phobic about Semitic religions. You should be phobic about every religion.
Well.
There's no religions that are good. Like, for example, in Hong Kong, I met that guy who were a Buddhist monk for a time, Westerners, and he explained to me that for some things that nobody talked about in a Tibetan temple, they were also raping the kids.
Oh,
so
yeah.
in every
do you have any experience with like do you have any like inside dirt on Taoists? Like, because they always seemed pretty chill to me, to be quite honest.
I don't have a, but the things with Taoists is like they don't really have a huge clergy, so
yeah, that's
they are
you
more
know.
like but there's some weird stuff like cultist types of medicines and these kind of things which exist with Taoists, and lots of crookery going with Taoism.
Love it.
So that's not necessarily as bad as the others because they are less organized, but they still have some fucked up things too.
Fair enough. Mitre, I think the problem is the singling out, right? Like those that usually go in with the Islamophobia stuff don't seem to go in with the other stuff. And so, like, if you're going to be fearful of all religions, be fearful of all religions. But if you're going to, you know, just single one out, I think that, you know, betrays an underlying, exactly, oh, yeah, it's usually a racist thing. Exactly. Like, it's usually the calling card. But, I mean, I totally get it. It's, you know, there's a large group of people who believe the unknowable, and they put some like shit down on paper, and all of a sudden shit gets real, and you know, like people are dying over this stuff all of a sudden. Oof, you know, yeah, it makes me uncomfortable too. Tastique.
Yeah, sorry for that stupid joke.
That's a dude, that's solid. Oh my god. Yeah, fucking try it. All religions are bad. Oh shit.
Yeah, I was talking about all cops are bad.
Yeah,
and,
no, yeah, we all get it. Yeah, like
I'm not saying that religious texts are bad. The problem is not the religious texts. The problem is the people around that use religion as power.
I'll go so far as say the texts themselves are pretty bad too. Like there's some good stuff in there, but there's some really, really horrific stuff in there as well.
I put a link to a show, a French show that is actually a concept that I found really interesting that sadly you don't have in the US. Basically, like people will make like a university conference in a form of stand-up comedy.
Where did you put this link?
Talking about their background. and one of those guys who were like a historian of religions. Uh, it's in French. I would just explain
right.
what's interesting in it. That will be easier. So the guy basically explained what is the history of religion and showing that every time something appear in religions, they were due to like political events. You see that there is a correlation of like why polytheism started, and it was because like every city started to fight with one another, because at one moment they had city-states 2,400 years BC, and when they started to enslave someone from another city, it was difficult to have like the two religions fighting with one another, creating a culture for the other people. So they aggregate the new religions from the other country and create a hierarchy of gods. So if you were winning, your gods were better than the others, and like this, you will have the possibility to aggregate the others and make them part of your culture too. So Greek and Egypt were like very powerful, so they had a lot of gods. If you were, and then they realized that it was not good enough, and they changed to monotheism. And you see that it goes with the political shift where people wanted to say that I'm the king and I come from divine right, so I can give the inheritance of my kingdom to the other people. And so every time they had a major change in their history, the religions were trying to implement a new way of doing their cult in order to help the people in power. So religions and power was already a kind of propaganda or crowd control, basically. So that's quite an interesting topic. And he also explained that the Bible take a lot of his history from a prior work. And
the whole damn thing's ripped off, basically.
They managed to pinpoint who were actually the guy who wrote the Ancient Testament. But every time we want to talk about that guy who wrote the Ancient Testament, the religions are lobbying for any school systems to never talk about that guy who is called Simeon something. And it's kind of funny because he's considered a saint for the Jew, for Islams, for the Christians, but you never heard his name for anything. Because like the guy, they don't want to say that the guy wrote the Bible before like before gods appear, this kind of thing. So there's a lot of example where history and what's in the Bible are clashing with one another.
Oh yeah, I mean, the entire parable of Jesus is stolen from the Egyptians. It's basically word for word Horus. And I mean, you can go down the checklist. Jesus born of virgin, Horus born of a virgin, birthday December 25th, Eastern Star led 3 wise men to him when he was born. This both Horus and Jesus. This is both of them taken to Egypt to escape the wrath of Herod versus Typhon. Taught in the temple as a child, baptized by John the Baptist versus Anup the Baptist at age 30, had 12 disciples, performed miracles, walked on water, raised someone from the dead, was transfigured on a mountain, crucified, buried in a tomb, and resurrected. All of these are stories of Jesus and Horus both. And Horus happens to have been written 5,000 years prior to Jesus.
Yeah, and even like the part where the Jews are escaping from Pharaoh from Egypt and going to Canaan, they made the research for like archaeological research for the time, and they were saying like, oh, Canaan was actually part of Egypt at that time. So basically, they escaped from Pharaoh to going to the region next to it, who were also ruled by Pharaoh. It doesn't make sense. And
the whole thing gets murky.
And then they checked where this story could have taken place, and they realized that it could have been taken place in Greece. and so Greece has been changed by Egypt at one point in the history for the book, because I mean it's a whole mess when you try to find like archaeological proof of what happened in the stories.
Moshing. It's all just a coincidence. Yeah.
Escaping from a king to going to a place where he's still ruling, that's kind of stupid.
It's, you know, let's face it, looking for consistency within these parables, within these stories, within this mythology, probably not the task that you want to busy yourself with.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my most solid topic, but still,
It's,
as
you
it's
know.
not solid in the first place, it's kind of easy to debunk.
Yeah, and you know, the Jesus Horus thing is always my favorite go-to, because they're just, I mean, the story of Horus is, Ace, yes, coincidence. The story of Horus is pretty well established, and we know what the story of Jesus is, so you can just go down the checklist for the two and be like, there's a lot of fucking coincidences here for a story that predates the other by a few thousand years, that was all across an entire region of the globe and was well known to millions of people. Seems like a bit of a rebrand job to me, quite frankly.
I mean,
but
out of all this mess, the only thing that I found interesting at the end is the fact that religion has always been the backbone around how the social propaganda, the social peace, and the social control was organized in order for the power to stay in place without too much of a backdraft.
Wait a second. Hey there, Moshing. I just it just dawned on me, like it just clicked that fucking Zealot's buddy that we raided the other day. What's up, my man? There's so many usernames, you know, difficult to keep track. Easier solution. Easy solution, just deny the story of Horus, says Sourcing. Ace says, easier solution, deny it all, hail Satan. And yeah, moshing the true forefathers of marketing. Bow down. The problem with Jesus is that St. Peter does exist. He's on display under the Vatican, or so they say it's him. Did he just make it all up? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, make it all up.
Pretty easy to do, seeing as there is no contemporary account of Jesus in the Bible. Like, every telling of the story of Jesus in the Bible is posthumous.
Yeah, and they just compiled all stories, and they were like different person compiling all stories. So you have St. Peter, St. John, St. Paul, and I don't remember the fourth one. Probably like the fourth night of the apocalypse or whatever. But yeah, like those people just use the other stories that were helping build the legends and the mythology for the Christians.
Ace, I mean, Jesus exists too. I've met 3 of them in the past 5 years. Oh, Jack, I just saw somebody debating a conservative and my brain matter spilled out of my ears. I'm sorry. As somebody who, luckily today, there hasn't been a whole lot of that. The only people I've had to, like, talk to today are either, like, left-wing zealots in the form of Sam or complete nut jobs that ended up getting themselves banned because of their, like, closet racism. But yeah. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, Zealot. Sorry to invoke you. The Chud asked what was wrong with Pinochet. You know.
Putting people in stadium and shooting them, maybe?
Maybe something like that. You know, an attempted genocide. You know.
You never see them again?
Fair enough, Zealot. I do the same with Radical, right? So I feel you on that one, man. Let's see. Yeah, the religion thing's weird. It just is. It's fucking weird. Like, there's no other way around that. Like, hey, I believe a whole bunch of stuff to the point of willing to kill other people, even though we can't prove a single bit of it. Like, I get killing people over beliefs, right? There are things that people will kill over. I understand that. But made up shit, I don't get. Like, we just made some shit up. It's on paper over here. This dude over here says it's true. Yeah, I'm willing to kill you now over it.
What's even easier is like there's still people. We still have like a religion war nowadays. Like, look at what is happening right now in India or Germany or other like Southeast Asian country where if you're a religious minority, you might be chased down, beating down in the street. It's like the world has not evolved that fast. Actually, there's still places that are pretty fucked up regarding religion, which are made up shit.
Jack, some of his gems. What was wrong with Pinochet? Nazis are left. Modern day Russia is communist. Quote, I don't read that commie theory, and the U.S. never interfered in Chile. Cool.
Oh yeah, I thought it was you saying that. I was like, what?
No. So who was attempting to talk to this human being? Mitre, Jack's just informing us of something he had to bear witness to somewhere else.
Don't ban him right away.
No, Jack's been around for a while.
Oh, talking about whistleblower, that's also something that is so sad. Like, you have people that basically telling others like, hey, look, this is fucked up, and right now you have all the country, European, American, who are like putting them in prisons or under like public charges for basically telling the truth. Like,
well, that's standard tradition within authoritarian regimes.
Yeah, but that's a proof that we have a more authoritarian regime nowadays than before.
In my lifetime, we went from maybe 6 or 7. Dr. Joe Mama tried to debate him. Sorry, Joe. We went from maybe 6 or 7 points of characteristics of fascism or eternal fascism or fascism by Umberto Eco. In my lifetime, we went from 6. Nice. We went from 6 or 7 to all 14.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to people recently the same thing about Umberto Eco's scale, about what was fascism and things like that. Every time you explain to someone that Trump is a fascist, and they still don't get it. They're like, oh, you don't know what is fascism.
It's like, let's go down the checklist. Right? Let's just go down the list. We can go down it together. And yeah, in my lifetime, we went from 6, maybe 7 points to all 14. So,
yeah,
you know,
those scales are actually funny to do. Like, coming back to the question about religious things, they made a scale to see like how characters is part of the mythology or not. And when you look at that scale, I think they were like putting like Bugs Bunny was at 22, Jesus was at 19, and so you can see that he was not that far away from like a mythical creature in lots of senses. So that's another funny scale to check if you want to know if someone is a true person or not.
The guy couldn't get over the idea that communism is stateless. He couldn't wrap his head around it. This question is formed in a way that I'm not sure. How about France and Europe's drive in the late 19th century of imperialism of the world for their own economic politics? What about it? It's colonial imperialism writ large, and it's classic. You know, I mean, some of it was fascistic, but some of it doesn't meet the qualifications necessarily. Some of it
Things are-
takes on other characteristics.
And I mean, for all of them, they were all related to imperialisms. Almost all of them are different degrees of racisms behind it, but they all like. Let's talk about like the four main one. You had like Portuguese colonialisms. You had the Dutch colonialism, French and English, who were like the main one, and they all have different types of flavor on how bad they were. Like the Dutch one, for example, they had these big capitalistic types of companies that were actually more powerful than their own states, and who took over like regions and basically enslave war regions, creating riches and bringing them back to Europe. But they don't necessarily end up in to do like triangular slave trade as much as the other countries, because they basically put in slavery the people on sites. French tended to think that because we were the higher race compared to the black people at that time, they wanted to evangelize everybody and send a lot of religious people all around the world to take care of the people and try to bring educations to those black people. The English people, when they were doing their colonial things, they basically went there, put the people who were there into work, and then later on create a community in that city who were aside from the community there and not involving with the community. And Portuguese was a little further away. They basically generally like buy for the use of an harbor or something and try to trade with the people. So with those four tactics, they had really different results later on in what decolonialism, when decolonialism happened. When they stopped colonialism, for example, the English people, because they were separated to these other people, they just left, but they still let in charge like a police station. The whole systems is basically copying what the English has put for like all the administration for those countries. So those countries don't necessarily still have good relationship with the English people, but they still keep pretty much a society that really looks like the English society. And then they had a role in the Commonwealth, which is like the same kind of things that France Africa has done to keep in check their former colonies. In France, because they were really involved into the communities, the links are stronger, which doesn't mean necessarily that French has done better in terms of keeping its relationship, but it was really difficult for the people to throw all the French away because they had tied with the people. So it got complicated. And that's also what was happening right now in France. You had a lot of this kind of bourgeoisie milieu from these former French colonies who are actually really linked to the French bourgeoisie, and so they just supplanted the French people, but they are still like the only difference is they are black, basically, compared to what was before. So those countries are still in a poor situation, and they're still having the same trade situation with France. So France officially doesn't have colonies anymore, but they still have satellite country in West Africa. And from what I know of the Dutch and Portuguese, Dutch has they have completely disappeared from their former colonies, and Portugal, they still have some. The language has still been used as a lingua franca for this country, but Portugal didn't have enough money to basically exert its power over their colony for a long term, and they didn't have that much influence. They also lost their colony way prior to the other countries. So different types of colonialisms end up with different types of situation nowadays, and you still see that in the different policies that France and English will implement towards their former colonies. Sorry, I was speaking a little too much.
No, you're fine. It allowed me to catch up on a few different things, actually.
I mean, it will be maybe a little better for me to give example. As I said, I lived in Hong Kong before, so I saw prime hand how the Hong Kong was ruled there. Sorry, you said something? Couldn't
No,
hear you.
I'm just rolling back in chat. Hey, Siderial, welcome, and yeah, I loved your comment about fucking modern capitalism. Such nothing. Do you have anything like constructive to contribute? We're talking about imperialism from a historical perspective, and you're yelling about Russian interference in 2020 Democrats never blame American criminal shit. Like, you got anything to bring to the table? Probably not. Let's see.
Yeah.
And there's some discussion is the existence of Jesus versus Julius Caesar and Pontius Pilate, and the existence of fictitious versus real characters. Specifically, what was the example? Because I don't know this. Hatsune Miku, the holographic singer, which is a whole level of like weebery that I can't get into. But I have seen that stuff before. I'm not.
Okay. By the way, talking about that scale, I found back the resources for that. It's called the Raglan Mythotype rank. So if you want to know if your character seems like mythologic, you can check the boxes for that.
All right. Ethotape. All right. So here's the Wikipedia for it. Oh, nope. Oh, you already put it in. Cool. I will. Nope. I can't delete my own chat message. Interesting. I can't actually remove my own comment. So cool. Oh, let's see.
I think you find a good example of what is very different between like France and English types of colonialism, like. But basically, the fact that the communities were separate in England and connected in France makes a very, very big difference. We can see that in England, for example, most of the countries don't have the same types of literacy towards English that what was in the French former colonies. Like in our French colonies, like most of them will use French as one of their official language, which is not necessarily the case for like the former English colonies, who will still have English used generally in trades and these kind of things, but most of the population will not speak a word of English, even if in Hong Kong it was a different situation.
Well, that and one of my favorite, like, we're the French here, is what I call the baguettes and boulevards syndrome. It's you guys left. You guys had a tendency to leave this very particular set of marks on countries that you colonized, and you can see it. You could just like you look around. You're like, is there a bakery around here? Yes.
Yeah.
Chances are the French were here.
You see that also in like the architecture of some street or things like that, where you have some French flavor toward that.
Yeah.
Doesn't say it's a good thing or bad things, but yeah, that's something that happened. While in a former English colony, most of the building who are administrative will be fitting that things, but they don't let that much of their own culture there.
Yeah. It is one of my favorite ways to just sort of get a quick vibe check for a country. Like, they got really good bread here. The French were probably here. Moshing, dang it. Damn it, now I want bakery food.
I
Sidereal.
have to bake my own bread here in Texas.
Oh, yeah, you have to. You have to.
I'm not so good as I'm not such a good baker, but I still do a better job than most of the American bakeries.
Of course. You snobby fuckers. You earned it though. You fucking French bakeries are. Look, it's a thing. It just is. People just have to accept it. Sidereal, I think sometimes that whilst this is probably somewhat less pronounced in some ways in Europe and UK, etc., than perhaps America, it surprises me at how much people don't think about how much the fallout of old decisions are still being felt today still.
Yeah, that's something crazy. I did the first time I arrived to Hong Kong. I couldn't imagine that those things that happened like 100 years ago are still impacting the society that much. And for those who don't know about how Hong Kong was born, like you have this opium war that was probably the most fucked up way to start a war.
Britain are masters of fucked up ways to start a war, though.
Yeah, there's a lots of way, but saying that we will start a war because you don't want to buy our opium.
Well, that and I mean the opium was the tool to start with as well. Like, I mean, the entire saga of the opium wars of, hey, let's get them addicted to opium. And, you know,
oh, they don't want opium anymore. Let's
yeah. Oh, you're gonna the Imperium is gonna try and get the nation off of the opium. Oh well, now we're gonna go to war over that shit. It is Kaiser's cooking mapo tofu. Let's see. Deadeye, modern imperialism sucks. Nation building is practically worse than colonialism was back in the day. At least when you took over a place, you invested in that place. Ace.
That's the thing. Not everybody were investing that much in those places. Like,
Spain.
As I said, the English were just living apart from the rest of the society, like in this kind of gated community where only the English could come, which is different from what the French were doing. So right now in the French colonies, it's probably worse because now they only have those big companies that will arrive and take over a monopoly on the whole country. Like, for example, if you look at Ivory Coast, you have what's the fuck is the name of that guy? Anyway, he's like a French billionaire. He has taken over the whole country by himself. Like he's controlling all the mines of Ivory Coast. The people are served like stupidly bad wages.
Claude Dauphin?
No, it's another guy. I will remember his name later on, but with like the echo in my ears when I'm talking, I tend to have difficulty to
Bolloré? B-O-L-L-O-R-E?
Yeah, that was the name, Bolloré.
Yeah.
Bolloré will take over most of the economy of the country, and because everything is going to other country, like imperialistic style, where you take the good and the resources of the country and bring them to another country. The situation is worse for those countries because before, at least, they had some kind of people who will take care of the education of the people and try to have those things. So those colonies are getting worse for the French colony. While for the English, because they left and the people has to take care of everything by themselves, sometimes it's actually better. Of course, you still have the problem of the borders, where they basically for most of the African countries, they trace these borders that were going over the ethnicity territories to make sure that people will fight with one another in order to divide and conquer later on with the big companies. So that happened in both of those countries, and that also allows those big companies to thrive there. So you end up with those situations that makes everything complicated. But basically, people are better from the better gone from former English colonies in terms of control over their own country, while France is doing a lot of work to ensure that they still have power over the economies of their former colonies.
Sidereal, you with the joke, but could we have our precious cultural artifacts back from your museum, England? Finders keepers, bruv. I watched a DW documentary month or so ago about African artifacts that have, largely found their way into Europe. America has a few, but we bought them secondhand since we didn't have that era of colonialism. We weren't, kicking around in Africa during that era. And so you have all of these cultural artifacts, and some of the conversations that they had in this documentary with these fucking white as the driven snow museum curators were so asinine and so ridiculous. There was a Belgian one who looked right dead down into camera and said, well, we have to have a conversation with our African counterparts. I mean, do they even really want these artifacts back? They literally smash cut to just
Yeah, the same for French ones saying like, we take better care of those things than they will ever do.
And it's not, you don't get to make that argument like you stole it. You don't get to say like, well, I'm taking care of your object better than you were, so I should hang on to it for you. You stole it. You got caught. You got caught. And, they literally did in the documentary. They smash cut to an African art curator, I believe Ghanaian. And she's literally just her saying, yes, we want them back. I was good on the editor for the documentary. Like, well, do they even want them back? Yes, we want them back. It's fucking ridiculous. Belgium, the Congo, fuck it, Belgium. Belgium, when you talk about like imperialism and colonialism, people always, hit America, they hit England, they hit Spain, sometimes they hit Portugal, they'll hit, and it's like Belgium just kind of skates by a lot. And it's like, those crazy fuckers got up to King Leopold.
From Belgium. It was just from the king of Belgium. It's a one guy that colonized the whole country.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. I've heard that argument before too. That it was primarily King Leopold, not somebody went along with it.
Like probably one of the worst genocide of all time.
Yeah, and the Dutch, fucking Holland, fucking the Dutch slave trade.
They were slaving people really hard in those regions, and they were basically one of the wealthiest company of all time too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love it. Siderial, I'm so taking my friend's things and then I'm gonna vacuum my room and tell him, well, sorry, my room's cleaner. That's basically the argument that the European art curators are making these days, is that, well, we can take better care of the objects, and it's like, Jesus Christ, people.
Okay, to respond about Dedai questions about Hong Kong doing better after British rule, it's not totally true. Like Hong Kong, as people were doing really good up to the 95, 2000s. And after that, it crumbled down because there were a bubble on real estate. And right now, Hong Kong is still doing okay-ish, but is losing its pace compared to other places. And there's lots of people in Hong Kong who are actually scared for the future regarding how China will overrule them in a nearby future.
They already are starting, so...
Yeah, but the life of Hong Kongers is actually not that bad, but it's very different from what is happening right now in the rest of China. So it's actually not like a fight for emancipation. It's more a nationalistic fight to make sure that their way of life will not change, because they are really scared of what will happen with China, which is partly normal that they feel like that, and partly pretty weird. Like you will hear, it's like if you were in Hong Kong, for me it was difficult there because at the same time I understood why they were fighting, and at the same time I cannot back up someone that vouch for like private educations really hard. And they think that it's normal that every school has a different program, because like the best school should always overrule over the smaller schools. So as a communist teacher, that gives me a real problem with the Hong Kong protesters. So that's a difficult situation. But overall, what that situation does is creates a really tense society where people wants to get control over their life and control over their future. So people in Hong Kong, that's why it's the country where people work the most all around the world. People work around 55 to 60 hours a week in Hong Kong.
Pass. And since we're talking about China, we shall play the obligatory clip.
Fuck the Chinese government. There.
Here we go. Thank you.
Yeah, talking about other things that were pretty fucked up in Hong Kong. You can scare kids in school who were like 6-year-old by telling like, if you misbehave, you will never go to university. And suddenly the kids behave. So I had to do things in schools that were like pretty weird. Like we had the selections at the entrance of primary school, where the kids arrive at 5 years old and they are trained, with like bow ties and these kind of things. And during the 3 or 4 hours, you will select kids. And on that day, we had to do the selections for 2,500 kids for 150 places.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, that's a hardcore competition systems. So, and it doesn't make any sense. It's really difficult to make a selection for kids of that age. Like, if it just happens that the kid had a bad day, he will suddenly misbehave and get out of the selection, which doesn't make any sense. So, everybody knows that the system doesn't make any sense, but still they try to make it happen. And you have people who will give like school after school to kids that are starting at 3 or 4 years old, even earlier. So the whole systems became fucked up because people are scared for the future and they want their kids to have like the best degrees in order that to be prepared to go somewhere else. Lots of kids will be enticed to also meet foreigners, because if you marry a foreigner, you might have another visa that will allow you to escape China. So they have a really weird mindset in Hong Kong right now.
Well, trust me, I know plenty of Americans who have that exact same mindset. So
yeah.
That's
on Americans. That's also why people think that people want to come to USA and that you have like shitty immigration laws that never change.
If anybody, I'm always looking for new outlets out there. So if anybody happens to be native born, natural born of a worthwhile country, and that has gay marriage, by all means, just saying, keep me in mind.
We have gay marriage in France, and
I think your wife might object.
When they start the law for gay marriage in France, there were actually some things that they put in the laws that were never done before. They were saying like, if you go to the city hall to get married, the mayor can decide not to marry you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've got all the sorts of that bullshit in this country as well.
And so we have like it's not like the Supreme Court. It's called the Constitutional Council that overruled that law, but that was creating a precedence where you can basically say officials can apply the law or not if they want to. Which is
Deadeye. I know people who are actually hoping Trump would win so we can start a war with China. Good luck with those people. And all Trump did was start a shitty trade war and essentially shot us all in the foot as a result of it.
Because Trump will not have the support of even his ally to attack China.
And
I think he's not realizing how people doesn't like USA all around the world.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is I don't know. There's tens of millions of people in this country that sincerely think that we're like this shining beacon on the hill and that the rest of the world looks up to us. And they don't realize that we're like a trailer fire in the trailer park or something. Like the meth lab is on fire. And
they don't realize that when people are looking for beacon of light, there is other countries that comes to mind, like UK, Germany, or France are generally on the top of their list. Denmark too. So, no, USA is not seen as a beacon of light unless you're a very capitalist person.
Yeah. And as if Biden wouldn't be as likely to start a war with China. No, I think Biden would be less likely. Trump's got that like rando card shit going on. You really can't predict him to a certain degree. That if he gets an idea in that fucking Adderalled out fucking brain of his, who knows what he might end up thinking. No, not the meth lab. U.S. is entertainment for the world. That's one of our biggest exports, the entertainment industry. It is. Our cultural exportation is what still allows us to cling on to some modicum of dominance. That and the fact that, you know, the U.S. currency is the reserve currency for oil trading. Jack, I don't look up to Americans. I just think you guys are amusing. Oh, fucking. I'm glad we can entertain you, sir. Trump's trade war. My dick is bigger than yours. Fucking, which, according to Stormy, not very big. Yeah.
His hands are not big either.
It's, let's see. Russia showed how powerful socialism can be by becoming an industrial powerhouse in a matter of years, and China showed how weak socialism can be by resorting to capitalism to rise themselves out of poverty. I think there's nuance missing there, but yeah.
Yeah, like you can't hope for every country to have a great leap forward, for example. So you need to put some nuance when you're saying those kind of things. But it's true that Russia had a really big economic growth after their revolution, but they were also starting from very far away. So.
I think there's an argument, though, that they made a shit ton of progress. Let's see. All right. I kind of am feeling an early night, boys and girls. I'm kind of feeling it. We're coming up on 9 p.m. That'd be about 3.5 hours, which I know is a little shorter than what I normally stream.
Goodbye, chat. I hope I was not too annoying with my French accent.
Goddamn Frenchie.
I will say goodbye. Good night.
It was lovely speaking to you again, Pastique. I hope you didn't annoy the missus too much. Let's see. Let me. I'm gonna pull out of there, and I'm going to disconnect you from there, Pastique. Ooh. That's. I'm sorry to hear that, Pastique. That's always the rough time, right? That's always a rough time. Did we accomplish anything today? Did we do anything today? I don't know. I really don't know. We had some good talk about imperialism and colonialism, especially from the perspective of a non-American. Europeans always have a very particular and educated view on imperialism and on colonialism, given that they are the OG big daddies of this sort of thing. Jack brought us some interesting tales from abroad about fucking conservatives trying to... no worries, Pastique. We banned Elon. That was productive. Kaiser, that's true. That's true. Did Sam get banned? Did Sam just go away, or did Sam get banned? I think just made Sam go away, but I don't remember. Indeed. You know, Elon made it 2 streams. Well, I mean, not 2 full streams. Elon made it 1 stream plus a half, 1.5, something like that. So way more than Elon makes it on most leftist streams. So I guess congratulations to Elon. New record. Well, I'm glad, Moshing. Yes, you had mentioned that you aren't very political. If you want to dump it into chat, Pastique, or if you want to hold on to it for another time, that's fine. You know, we didn't do a ton of theory, but that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Hey, thank you for the follow. Interesting. Okay. So, different ideas of post-colonialism sort of societal setup. The English are into more of a communitarianism, where the French are against that idea. Forbid statistics? Like, we forbid statistics about race and religion in France. Interesting. Okay, you'll hold on to it for another time. That's fair. I'm thinking we should raid SJW because reasons. Well, Callie's only got one, but I kind of want to raid SJW. It's been a while since I jumped over to SJW's chat. Thanks for the follow, Deadeye. For those of you that are new, here's the spiel. KaisThings.com, KAISthings.com. You catch all my stuff there. I'm on 5 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific U.S. time, 11:30 p.m. U.S. Pacific time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So there's the spiel. We're going to go raid SJW 9000. It is a tongue-in-cheek name, so enjoy it. We'll see. We'll see how many I can take over there. I know raids are always a way to shed a whole bunch of people, so we'll see what's up. But yeah, I hope you guys had a decent time, and I'm going to. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my evening. I think I'm going to get kind of fucked up though. I actually spent the weekend pretty sober, so I think I might, get a little lit. Either way, I'll see you guys over at SJW's. Till then, I hope you're as well as you can be.